Hey, everybody, Guy here from Chit Chat. Thanks for listening. Really, really appreciate it. You might be folding laundry right now or driving around, picking up kids or cooking or grilling or something. All the things that people do and all the things I do while listening to podcasts. And we just say thanks. Thanks for folding us into your life. I just got done recording a podcast unlike any of the podcasts that I have done before. One of my very favorite human beings in the entire world, Christian Kirmeier, came on the podcast, and we talked a little bit like normal, and then we shared a story. And I'm just going to tell you now, I've never had to give a disclaimer before in a podcast, but it's a story about processing animals. We'll say it right there. If that is unsettling to you, just go ahead and skip this one. But it's my favorite story, my favorite thing that I've lived through with Christian. I will remember the details of that story until the very day that I die. And so Christian and I shared that. We experienced that thing together, and we shared that story today. So I hope you enjoy. Again, this podcast is whatever it is. And today it was a really fun hangout with my buddy. That's what it was today. And I loved it, and I hope you do too. Thanks for listening, everybody. Christian Kirmeier.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
Christian and I were just talking. Christian's not much of a podcast listener or participator, with the exception of he once, episode 1, when Brian Woolman was on the first time, he sat behind the camera and was just like in the room. So this is kind of your second podcast.
And if we're being honest, like I am a podcast listener. I just haven't chit chat.
And
I don't feel good about it. But I just didn't want it to come off of like people being like, you don't listen to, are you 90? Like you don't listen to podcasts?
This is a really sweet way to start the podcast with one of your very best friends in the whole entire world. Oh, that's great.
Don't you have like those shows that you just love and you're like, I'm going to wait though. And I'm going to binge all of it. Like that's where I'm at with Chit Chat.
Wow.
I'm like,
someday.
I can't handle the like, I got to wait another week. I'm just going to try to like have as many, some big road trip I'm going on. Bentonville. I'd probably Chit Chat the whole way. Yeah.
We'll be driving next to each other.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I'll be ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because you're a little slow.
Yeah. I'd like to get in my zone.
Your podcast zone.
Yeah.
Well, great. I have been teasing Christian for a year and however many months the podcast has been going that he was going to be on someday. I didn't even really ask. You've got certain friends. You guys probably all get it. There are friends that you ask to do things, and then there's a certain kind of friend that you tell them. And this is Christian is one of those where I can say like, dude, it's time. You're coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he very reluctantly, look at his arms. If you're watching live, he's leaned back a little bit. His arms are crossed. But Christian, I'm excited for this podcast for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
You're one of my favorite human beings in the entirety of the world. There are, I think, 8 billion people.
So many people.
There's so many people.
Yeah.
And you're one of my very favorites. And so I'm excited for people to get to know you a little bit. Even this very awkward, weird, shy version.
I think we're going to get through this by the end. I'm not sure exactly. I've never listened. So hopefully.
Yeah. Here's the deal. The theater kid in you from high school.
Oh, yeah.
He needs to come out a little bit here.
Yeah. My daughter does not believe that person exists, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what you need to know about Christian is not just that he's one of my favorite people, but we're actually like brothers because he lived at my house. I wasn't there. I was married and an adult, but Christian needed a place, and I was like, oh my gosh, my parents are empty nesters. They're gonna love you, and so Christian went and lived at my house with my parents, and in that moment, because he lived in the room that was my brother's room. He just also became my brother.
That's how that works, I think. Yeah.
Also, one of my favorite things about Christian is sometimes you have friends that are kind of like ride-along buddies, like kind of ride or die kind of guys, and yard work is miserable.
Yeah.
Yard work is miserable. And Christian and I have this deal. Like, if you're going to be at your house today doing 8 hours of yard work and housework, and I'm going to be at my house doing 8 hours of yard work and housework, why don't we just work together for 4 hours at each house?
Yeah.
And so Christian and I spend a lot of time together because we're just doing house projects together. Literally, every single project that I have done at my house in some capacity has had Christian's fingerprints, literally and figuratively, on it.
It's also easier to say to your wife, I'm going to work on a project for our home with my buddy than I'm going to hang out with my buddy. So it feels like a good, yeah. We figured out a nice little
I got a lot of that too.
thing there. Yeah.
Okay, Christian, you're a local guy, lived in the area a long time.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I am a real estate agent in St. Cloud. I work for a company called Wits Realty. Yeah, I've been doing real estate for 6 years. I really like it.
The good years.
The good years, as some would say, the good years. Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah, I started right before COVID, which was an interesting time to get in. I think I was explaining to somebody, like, I think for some people it was hard to get into what COVID was for a real estate agent, especially if you had maybe been in real estate for a while, because it was such a big change. And for me, there was no change. It just was. And so it was like, well, this is what it is, I guess. And so I think obviously there's pros and cons to that, but I think was maybe some pieces were easier because of that, because I didn't have a preconceived idea of what it was already. Yeah.
What an incredible, I mean, maybe there have been other seasons, but like this last 5-year span in the real estate market in general has been so like inside of that 5-year span, so drastically different.
Yeah.
Free money early in your career.
Yeah.
Like giant loans with almost no interest rates.
Yeah.
And then the interest rates swung super, super high. And so now you have the opposite kind of problem that comes with that.
Yeah.
And you've experienced both in your career so quickly, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten a lot of good experience and knowledge, and what can sometimes take, a couple decades of somebody in the business to experience. I've kind of gotten to see little bits of, which hopefully is making me better. Yeah.
So you guys heard it here. Christian is better than the realtors that have been in the game for 20 years.
Well, I do not think that's what I said. I hope not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not what he said.
Yeah.
As you are helping people find houses and homes, what do you love about that process?
I think first and foremost, I really do love the St. Cloud area, and above everything else within that, I love the people. And so when good people decide to either for the first time establish roots by buying a home in St. Cloud, that is exciting to me. Not only because I'm the realtor and helping them buy a home, but because it means good people are staying here, choosing. Really, there's something about when you purchase a home in an area, you're choosing that place as your home, at least for a significant amount of time. And if it's somebody who's selling their home and buying another home, it just means that they're committing, again to this place. And I think that I really love that first and foremost with real estate. Just knowing that, like, I feel like in a small way I'm helping our community like become more established and become more of what I hope it will be. Because most of the time I get to work with I get to work with people I really like and I want to live here. And so, yeah.
It's one of the fun things about being a small business owner is like you get to pick who your clients are to a certain extent, and the people, and even in how the way you market yourself, you can do some of that, some of that filtering. If you market yourself in a certain kind of way, the people that aren't interested in that thing will not even be interested. Like your phone probably doesn't even ring initially by the people that are drastically different than you or than the clients you want, because you've communicated a certain kind of approach and a certain kind of ethos related to the home buying process. And it's one of those, I think, sweet things about being self-employed.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Christian is like my main mountain bike buddy, and we A lot of our world is very, very similar. I don't think we set out to buy all the same things. It's not like
No.
or dress the same or any of that. It's not like it wasn't like a thing that just happened. But when you spend a lot of time with someone, you just end up. I don't need to research that thing because Christian already researched that. And so if I'm going to go buy that, which I now need to buy it because my friend's doing it, so I need to participate as well, which is how I got into mountain biking.
Yeah.
I just bought the same bike as Christian did because heavily researched and so I think we look like quite the pair.
Yeah, we do.
Out cruising around with our black t-shirts and gray shorts and identical bikes.
Yeah, we do dress similar, which I think just happened as well. Yeah, it's funny how many things maybe that are similar that I think initially I'm like, I'm not doing that. All right. I think when
He's off the register.
I think when you were like kind of going for the uniform look kind of thing, I was like, I don't know, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, okay, maybe I could just like simplify my closet because I liked that idea of like the simplicity of the thing. And then I was like, well, maybe I could just like simplify a few different types of t-shirts.
That's called a capsule closet, by the way.
Okay, great. And so I was like, maybe I'll start there. And then eventually it was like, okay, I'll do it, but like, and I'm gonna do the black shirt, but I'm gonna do khakis, you know? And I
remember khaki days.
Yeah, and then I blinked and it was gray and yeah. Do you that one is funny how that happened is I was coming to help you at Cloud Coffee Fest. And I was going to jump in with the team for the day just to help buddies.
Buds.
And, but wanted to make sure that I didn't stand out from the team. So you brought me a pair of pants. Somehow you got me. They weren't yours because we're not the same height. But like somehow you were like, if I get you pants, will you? And then I don't think I ever went back to khakis. Yeah.
That's great. I don't even remember that.
It just happens. It just happens. But yeah, the bike, same kind of deal. It just happened, and it's a good bike.
Yeah.
So
it is such a good
made
bike.
sense. Yeah.
Are we? Little side note. Are we Cuyuna tomorrow?
I think so. Like the rain is supposed to stop
in time.
Tonight, so it's gonna be cold.
That's fine.
It's gonna be 40.
Are you bringing both your kids or
degrees.
the bigs?
Are we bringing our kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
then
Let's go ride Klondike or Goose or
it's
something.
gonna be chilly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's pedal hard.
Great.
All right. Enough of all that.
Yeah.
Story is the driving force for us here at Switchboard. Story is also the reason that Chit Chat exists. We tell stories of the people around us through photos, videos, branding, and websites. Story helps us find meaning and it draws a community together. And we would love to help tell your story. You can find us at www.switchboard.mn. We would love to meet you. We'd love to talk with you and learn more about the story that you are trying to tell and how our story-driven marketing tools can help you communicate better. Can't wait to talk to you soon.
Great.
Christian,
Yeah.
I was hoping that you would come on the podcast
Yeah.
and that we could share a story.
Okay.
So if you're still listening to this podcast, we say thank you. And this is going to take a slightly different turn.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about in the days of COVID,
Yeah.
when we were finding unique ways to feed our families, and there was all of this new unique situations happening in our world, about a time when we went to a hog farm together.
Yeah.
Could we share that story here?
We are going to.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So here, Christian and I have this running tally of our best stories, and we keep, like, if something really incredible happens in our life, we hold it against the other stories to figure out, like, if it makes the list.
Yeah.
Is it, does it
in
beat
the top
Darlene?
10?
Does it beat the pigs?
Yeah.
We have a handful of these stories that are important stories, and I think this is the number one.
Yeah.
And so
The pigs.
Yeah. When Christian and I are 85 years old, sitting in rocking chairs next to each other someday, I think there's a very good chance that this is still our number one favorite story. And if not, we've got a
And
wild ride.
so good.
We've got a wild
So
ride ahead of
good.
us. But
Yeah. I am excited for the time when I say to my grandkids,
Yeah.
have I ever told you the story about the pigs?
Yeah.
And they say 100 times.
Yeah.
100 times.
yeah, every year on my birthday.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know.
Well, we're having pulled pork.
Yeah. So do you remember this was in 2020 around Mother's Day. So like springtime. Because all of the restaurants were closed, like all of these things were closed, and there was all of these other issues in that, like because people weren't at restaurants, people weren't buying meat and things in the same kinds of ways. And so there were these farms that had livestock, including pigs, that they were unable to sell because the supply chain got disrupted. And so there was a Facebook post in May or whatever it was of that year that someone said, I have these friends in Wilmer that are hog farmers, and they have hundreds of hogs that they need to sell. And they can't just keep them. This is the hard part, because if they keep them, they just keep eating.
Yeah.
And then they go bankrupt because they're just feeding these animals that don't have anywhere to go. And so they're trying to figure out, like, how do you get rid of 200 pigs? And so this Facebook message went up. This friend, a farmer, is in trouble. Would you like to come and buy a pig?
Yeah.
Side note, you'll need to do all of the processing yourself.
Yeah. Except that it felt like the Facebook post was a little bit more
Misleading?
like, we'll have a lot of help for you. We have, I think even at one point it started with like, there's a meat locker that's going to open for a time. So like this all felt like a great chance to learn.
Yep.
It felt like there was a real system in place, and a couple of yahoos were going to go and learn.
Yeah. How many YouTube videos on pig butchering did you watch?
All
of them. I exhausted the entirety of YouTube's collection of pig butchering.
Yeah.
But nothing, no amount of videos could prepare me.
They don't have videos. Like
those videos get pulled.
Yeah, they do.
Like they don't get to stay.
It breaks all of the rules.
All of the YouTube rules.
You cannot. Yeah.
So again,
side note for the algorithm right now, because previous to the story, leading up to, my entire algorithm was pig butchering.
Yeah.
Somehow, after this story, after we finished, the algorithm knew, and I don't think
He's never
ever seen.
Yeah, he's never gonna watch one again.
Yeah.
So Christian and I get in the car together, and
Excited.
So excited.
Yeah.
We each have a cooler, like in the back, like 2020 hindsight.
Yeah.
Like the cooler would have been. Like the cooler would have been.
A cooler to fit our. So we were going in together, right?
Yep.
We were each going to get half a hog. We're going to butcher a hog together.
Yep.
And
the cost, I think the cost was like $200 or something. Like when you think of like how much meat you were going to get, like it was a really, really incredible per pound cost.
So getting the car together, going to Wilmer, which is like, a little bit of a drive. So it's kind of fun with your buddy in a car. Mainly excited, right?
Yeah.
We were just
listening to music
on our way.
Yep.
To Wilmer.
And it's raining as we're driving there, which no big deal.
We're not even thinking about that being any part of a big deal.
Yeah, there's no way the rain will play because we're going to be inside. Yeah. We're going to be inside, not of a barn, of course. We're going to be inside a meat locker.
Yeah.
Stainless steel, everything.
We still had been told about a meat locker, which I've never seen.
They didn't have a meat locker. There was no meat locker.
Anyway.
And so we pull up to this farm, and it's this like beautiful, kind of like idyllic, really cute farm on the outskirts of Wilmer. And we pull up, and there is this like big old barn that's full of people.
We're like, well, that's not where we're going.
That's not where we're going. We're on our way.
So let's go a little bit further.
And we made it into what had been the killing fields.
We've called it the gut
fields.
Yeah.
The gut field. And we pull up to this field. And this is where, until the rain had started, where they were
You may want to
dispatching.
shut off the podcast now.
They were dispatching all of these hogs out in the field, and there are gut piles all over this field. Piles and piles and piles.
And it's wet.
And it's the car is getting stuck. It's wet and muddy because of the rain, and everybody they were now taking shelter in this big, very dirty old barn with a dirt floor. Like this was not like a finished barn. This was like where you store your tractors and stuff.
So we had to go back after seeing this field, which was
scarring.
An interesting experience to start. I was like, oh, this is, I thought YouTube did not prepare me for this field. So we find our parking, then we find the lady to pay before we go into the barn.
Yep.
We'll get into maybe some more of the dirtiness of the barn, but we find this lady to pay because, you pay and.
I think we wrote her a check for $250. I think $125 each. I think.
Yeah. Then we went into the barn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she says, great, welcome. Oh, the day's going great. So many people are coming to help us. Oh, it's so great. You'll just head into the barn to go get your hog. And she grabs a walkie-talkie and she says, Hank, or whatever the guy's name was.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah. Two more. Which, again, we don't really know what's coming. And then we go in there, and this is the scene from a murder movie.
Yeah.
Some horror movie that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
This was the scene.
Yeah.
Just carnage everywhere.
Hanging pigs. And then,
and then the guy shows up. No.
Yeah.
2 pigs.
2 pigs.
We each were
so
getting
we must have each been getting a pig. Yeah, we must have each been getting a pig.
Yep.
We had big eyes for what this was. Just to paint the picture a little bit more, when we walked into this barn, on the right side of the barn was a giant pile of trash. I mean, it was like
just garbage, like actual garbage.
Like actual garbage that had probably been there for the last decade. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, some of the tools that people were using were sitting on that pile
Sawzalls, just like shared sawzalls getting set down on this garbage pile.
Yeah. This is not... YouTube did not have any of this.
No.
There was no trash pile. There was no trash pile.
Not prepared. But here's the deal. Like Christian and I, remember, we were just 20 minutes ago, we were driving, listening to music, like, oh, this is going to be great. So we had, since we didn't know what we were heading into, we both show up in this barn, and neither of us wants to be the guy to say, like, no way. There's no possible way. So we're each doing this, like, of course this is normal. Of course this is.
We're doing this. Then Hank comes in a bobcat with a bucket with a pig
inside the bucket. But again, you've probably turned off. If this is hard, like, you've turned off a long time ago, so I'm just going to say it. But this pig was harvested 8 seconds. Yeah. 8 seconds. Like when she radioed, he dispatched this pig.
Yeah.
How he got it into the bucket before dispatching it,
I don't know.
Like, that's how fresh it felt.
Yeah.
There is blood coming from this bucket.
There's blood on his hands.
He is covered. He is covered in blood.
He looks like if you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, the old farmer guy who's talking about Shoshone arrowheads, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is Hank. And he's covered in blood and
eating a sandwich.
So he's driving the bobcat with one hand, eating a sandwich with the other.
With his bloody hand.
Yeah.
Like, with his bloody hand, he is eating a sandwich. And again, I'm just thinking to myself, like, each of these moments, I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. No. Like, I am not cut out for this thing right now.
This is not what I thought
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready. Yeah. But this, the bucket pulls up, and as he comes to a stop, like, the pig jiggles because it's, again, very fresh. Mind you, when you're watching the YouTube videos, all of these pigs that we have watched be processed, they are cold. They have been hanging. They are easy to move because of all of that.
Yeah.
They don't have the guts in them. Yeah. And all of this still is still here ahead of Christian and I.
So most of these pigs that are currently there, because there are groups of people kind of processing. And remember, we thought we were being told that there was help and in a meat locker. Like, you will be guided and will be in a meat locker. Well, we are not in a meat locker. That is clear now. Also, the help is one, maybe two people for 6 groups of people. And they're like walking around like, if you really need assistance, we'll give you like a tip or two. And this is just feeling incredibly overwhelming. Also, the pigs are hanging from other bobcats. And what would happen is as they were being processed, they would pull down on the bobcat, and they would scrape the bottom dirty floor.
Like laying on this dirty floor.
Yeah. And so you and I had separated a little bit to kind of get a feel for the place.
Because we were waiting for a station to open.
And I kind of assumed you were doing the same thing I was doing, trying to figure out
how to
do this or get out of it. And I think at one point, we just walk over to each other. And
I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
I said.
Leaned over to me quietly.
I just can't do it. And you said, thank God.
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Because I had no idea how.
I was so, like, this was a neat opportunity. You know, like, we didn't know what the world was going to hold.
Yeah.
And such a cheap and inexpensive way to get all this protein. There's this like pressure because we don't know what the world's going to look like.
So we went from trying to find creative ways to save money to and doing something that, you know, arguably even on the YouTube videos, I was like, okay, this is something I've never done. This will not be easy. And so like willing to do something hard to save $125 to now in this moment looking at you and being like, they can keep the money. I'll pay them more
just to leave
if I can leave right now.
And so we had this like conversation. I think there's a chance we even hugged. I mean, it was like just this like traumatic release.
In the midst of this dirty barn with the jiggling pig, we are hugging, probably wearing the same thing.
Yep. And then we're like, well, let's just try. Let's just try to get our money back if we can. And we walked up to the lady.
Yeah, so good.
And we said, hi, Shelly, whatever her name was.
Yeah. Gina.
Yeah. I'm City. This is my friend Slicker. We are just not cut out for this. We totally understand if you don't give us our money back, but
we're not doing this.
But we just can't do it. And she absolutely laughed in our face.
Yeah.
And she said, we have been doing this for 2 weekends. And
not a soul
has come back and said that they can't do it. In fact, the only questions I get are,
can we do more?
Can we do more pigs?
Yeah.
And she like literally just like laughed in our face, which we received and joined.
Oh,
I mean, like this. Yeah, we are.
That was the best response I could hope for. Yeah.
And she just handed us our check back. And then
we got in the car. And at that moment, I don't know if we have been more happy in our friendship. I mean, that was like, we felt like we had won the lottery. We didn't have to do this. We got our money back.
Yeah.
And we thought the next few hours we're going to be butchering pigs. So the day is open.
Yep.
Like
wide open.
It felt incredible.
It felt incredible. And then as we're leaving, to get out, we just drove, and like on our way out was like down past the gut field. And there was a family. Mm-hmm. There was a family going through all of the piles, and they had a minivan with the back door open, and they were taking all of the good organs.
Yeah.
And it was just like this icing on the cake of we're just not. I mean, this family was like rummaging through the.
It's another one of those things of like, I'm all for like the good nutrition of having some organ meat in your diet and that kind of stuff. I'm not cut out for
that,
getting it in a field. That was hard.
It was absolutely a really remarkable life experience, and I'm glad I got to do it with you.
Yeah.
And to Gina, thanks for...
Yeah, Gina, we're so happy.
Yeah, we're so happy for you that all those pigs got processed.
Yep.
We're happy for the families that got really inexpensive protein, and we just weren't able to join you in that moment.
I think, when they finished that day, probably a long, long day, like they've sat down to decompress, hang out, put their feet up, and talked about Mr. City and Slicker many times.
Yep.
And that's so good.
Our hats off to you, Gina.
Yeah, Gina, we are so happy. We're so happy we can provide that. Yeah.
Well, Christian, again, I haven't had a podcast like it. Thanks for coming and joining.
Yeah.
We close every podcast with a unpaid ad.
Oh, man.
Do you have someone, something, or some idea that you think deserves a little shout out today?
Wow. Well, I think I already kind of did, but I'll give it the fact that I've never seen another pig butchering video from the YouTube algorithm. I will give the unpaid advertisement to the YouTube algorithm
for no
today for that win. There are lots of other things I could be a little bit frustrated with the YouTube algorithm about, but that's a good one.
They got it right.
Yeah.
My unpaid ad for the day is for an artist named Steven Wilson Jr.
Oh my goodness.
This guy has changed my life. Yeah. You should go listen to his album called Son of Dad. He's in his early 40s. This is his first album, and I think it changed me forever.
Yeah.
I'm a changed person because of this album, that's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not a big country guy. In the last couple of years, I've tried, a little bit of Morgan Wallen. And if this is country music, country is my favorite genre of music.
Yeah.
Whatever Steven Wilson Jr. is, this is my favorite genre of music of all time. And listening, and Christian and I, we listen a lot as we are working on house projects and driving around. And
He's so good.
how about this? Could we each give them a song to go listen to?
Yeah.
All right. On the album Son of Dad, Christian, they should go listen to
Kid, the song Kid.
Okay.
Without a doubt. One of my absolute. It's not just one of, and again, we're recent to him. Maybe last few months we've been listening to him.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that album's only a year old as well. And it's his first. So he's not, but we've only been listening for a little bit. And that's not only one of my favorite songs of his, it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And he's got a couple of those that's true now of. Yeah.
And mine is, again, there's so many, but Father's Son. So his name is Steven Wilson Jr. So he's named after his dad, and it's a song about his dad and about youth and growing up, kind of being in his dad's shadow and rebelling against his dad, and then realizing that his dad is special and an incredible man, and then about how honored he is to share a name with his dad.
Yeah.
And who his dad is, who is now deceased. And then the next song, it goes from that song into I'm doubling up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes from that song into a song called Grief is Only Love.
Oh.
And it's about loss, in particular the loss of his dad. And so just that little 1-2 punch there from a song about his dad to a song about grief is
so good.
Really, really special.
So good.
All right. Well, Christian, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
So fun to have you on.
Great.
I love being your friend. I love being your brother. And
same.
you mean the world to me, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.